All right, Shalom. I'm giving all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, B'chahakotash. Double honor to the elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. A sincere Shalom, Labakariim, Shah Yasha'Allah. That's peace to the elect of the nation of Israel. Like the apostle say, I'm going to quote this. You miss a day, you miss a lot. You miss an hour right now, you miss a lot. More proof that we're coming closer and closer to the mark of the beast and World War III and the second coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai. But this is NY Prepper, all right? This is his channel. This just came out. They are reporting this on several news channels. The Strait of Hormuz is now closed again. We said this. Yesterday I just did a video. We don't know how long this is going to last. This is just a pause. All the guns are out. Everything is still laid out. Apparently, Iran closed it again because due to the blockage. You know, you can't say you have a peace deal. We put the guns down when America still has a blockage, you know, on the Strait. So apparently the Lord is escalating this, and we waiting to see what's going to happen tomorrow and what's going to happen next week. But I'm going to let this play. You know, but before I do, you got to understand the intensity of this situation. This is how it's going to be blow for blow as we're counting down to the end of Esau's kingdom. The Lord describes this as labor pains of a woman. And I read this yesterday, and I'm going to read it again because it's extremely necessary to the situation that we're in. This is 1 Thessalonians 1, verse 3 NLT. When people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, then disaster will fall on them as suddenly as a pregnant woman's labor pains. Now, the majority of people, they don't know the back and forth with this war. They couldn't tell you how many barrels of oil America used, how many barrels of oil is coming through the Strait of Hormuz. Are they special forces down? You know, your average Babylonian is just living the life. You know, living for the pleasures of this kingdom. So we the ones are feeling the labor pains because we the watchers. You know, we feel when it slows down. We feel when it speeds up. We're feeling it. They're just going to feel the birth of our Lord, the dawning of the day. But we feel the labor pains. And when you go into labor pains. This is labor is a unique process. This is Chat GPT. Labor is a unique process for every woman. Often described as a series of intense waves of physical sensations that bring her close to meeting her child. It is typically divided into 3 or 4 stages, depending on the medical perspective. The first stage, labor. This is the longest stage where the cervix dilates or opens and thins. So labor itself is what we're going through with Yahweh Shai's second coming. So that's when everything is being prepared, laid out on the table for the arrival of the child. And that's why when you turn on the news, you're hearing wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, tornadoes, storms, perplexity of the people, shit going on in the sun, the moon, the stars, UFOs in the air, the Great Awakening, the Israelites on the streets. See, all this is just part of the labor process. Let me Let me pull this word, labor, real quick. Labor is a noun that says a task or a project. And Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is working a task or a project with the end of the world, eschatology, right? It says exertion of the body, trouble, difficulty, hardship. Like when you go to work and you got to labor at work. A work, see that? A product of labor. A word of uncertain origin. Some sources venture that it could be related to labria, to totter, on the notion of tottering under burden. So we know labor is, once again, a hardship, a difficulty, a trouble. So this is labor. This is the labor pains we're experiencing when we hearing this. The Strait of Hormuz is open. Oh, now the Strait of Hormuz is closed. The war has stopped. Oh, now the war is back on. So the man of the Lord that's watching this, we understand this clearly. Right? So once again, labor. Labor is a unique process for every woman, often described as a series of intense waves. So we about to feel it. You're going to hear it on the news. Intense waves. Waves come in one at a time, and they're back to back. Sometimes waves are spread it out. You may get a break in a wave, but it's coming. Because one wave brings the next. And brings closer to closer to the mother meeting her child. It is typically divided into 3 or 4 stages depending on the medical perspective. First stage, the labor, we read that. Early phase, right? You got the active phase. Then you got the transition phase. The most intense part of labor, and this is what we about to hit right here. The most intense part of labor is called the transition phase, lasting from 30 minutes to 2 hours, where the cervix fully dilates to 10 centimeters, which gives that crowning where the head can fit through, and you can properly pull the baby, out of the mother's womb, including pulling out the, that's the water break, lightning, water break, physical smiles, intense pressure. You got that sac that you got to pull out. Forget the name of it. But the sac comes out right after physical smiles. Someone compares the feeling of the worst gas pains, bad period, cramps. Yeah, this is what we're going to do. Bad periods, cramps. This is back labor. The pain is the lower back, right? You got the lightning, the blood flow, water breaking. That's how it starts. It's something that transition. The most important part of the labor pain. Second phase, which it contrasts. Okay, this is second stage, pushing the birth. The mother begins to push with each contraction to move the baby through the birth canal. Third phase, the placenta. That's what I want to get to. So the doorway opens enough for the baby to come out, then the placenta to be delivered. After the baby is born, the placenta is delivered, which usually occurs within 5 to 30 minutes. So the Lord relates what's happening at the end of the world with labor pains. 1 Thessalonians 5:3 NLT. When people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, then disaster will fall on them as suddenly as a pregnant woman's labor pains begin, and there will be no escape. But you aren't in dark about these things, dear brothers and sisters, and you won't be surprised when the day of Yahweh comes like a thief, and a thief comes to take what you have. Now let's get into this video.
What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NY Prepper. It is Saturday, April 18th, 2026, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 15:39 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Iran. So it looks like the ceasefire and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz has collapsed. Yesterday, Trump made this big announcement that the Strait of Hormuz was open, and oil prices dropped to $80 a barrel from $100 a barrel. Well, today, Iran said that they have now closed the Strait of Hormuz again because of the U.S. military blockade of Iran that is still ongoing, even in the middle of ceasefire negotiations with Iran. And what you're looking at here is video footage of the U.S. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, leaving the White House following an emergency meeting this morning on Iran. Okay, so this is all breaking news coming in this morning. The ceasefire talks are collapsing. The Strait of Hormuz has been closed again by Iran. The White House having an emergency meeting this morning, and the U.S. top general was present at this meeting, okay?
I am very picky when it comes to subscriptions, and I like to think I keep up with them pretty well. But once I downloaded Rocket Money, they let me know I had been paying for not just a subscription to a streaming service I don't use anymore, but 2 subscriptions to a...
And Trump convened a White House Situation Room meeting on Saturday morning to discuss the renewed crisis around the Strait of Hormuz. A senior U.S. official said that if there is no breakthrough soon, the war could resume in the coming days. Wow. Okay, so that is very, very concerning. And the U.S. military is preparing in the coming days to board a...
They ramping up. We just told you it was going to be a pause. So we down to days. So they running out of time. The elites are moving faster and faster. They're not even waiting for Monday. But prepare yourselves. You know, something very terrible, very dramatic is about to take place. And Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah is playing no games.
Iran-linked oil tankers and seized commercial ships in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, according to U.S. officials. Wow. So the U.S. is basically going to do to Iran what they did to Venezuela. That's what they're planning to do. And the spokesperson for the Iranian Central Military Command said the Strait of Hormuz has returned to its previous state before the ceasefire and is under strict control of the IRGC and will remain so until the U.S. lifts its blockade. Okay, so this is all about the blockade.
And they're not lifting that because the elites that's controlling America, they need that area for the resources. You know, the way to end this whole thing is America just pull out. They not pulling out. You know, point blank period. And the Persians, they get the memo. So the fight is on. You know, this was really quick. This was quick. So that means time is short. Giving all the praise, honor, and all the glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Chachwadash. Double honor to the elders of Great Millstone who told us this truth. A sincere shalom, labakarium, shal yash Allah. That's peace to the elect of the nation of Israel. Time is short. Shalom.